Good Tuesday morning to you. Glad to have you here today. Thank you for joining me. If you will, like, share, comment, and then we will look at one little verse and a very short verse that makes a great statement that a lot of folks need to hear in today's world. Speaking of false teachers, speaking of their actions and their words, he says these are waterless springs and mists driven by a storm. So he gives us here two pictures, two descriptions, illustrations of false teachers. He says they are like a spring that doesn't actually produce water. And so I don't know if it's actually a spring if it doesn't produce water, or a cloud that doesn't produce rain. And that is his description, his illustration of false teachers. That what he is saying is that they are they're empty. There's nothing. There's no real substance to them. You can imagine. In their day, and we can even take it in their day, when he talked about a waterless spring, he would have been thinking, and his audience would have been thinking of how they traveled by camel, horse, donkey, walk, and as they were traveling along, and in the dust and the heat, and look up ahead and see some rocks, see what appears to be a well, and get up to the well, thinking, finally, and dip their bucket down in the well or the spring, and nothing comes up. And how disheartening. You and I probably had maybe not quite that experience, but we probably have at some point along the way seen a water fountain, and walked up to it and pushed the button, and nothing happened. Very disappointing. Or my family, I'm not telling you to do it, it's just we typically drink soft drinks that don't have caffeine in them, and they're very difficult to find in individual servings in convenience stores. And a number of times we've went in thinking, well, let's get a drink. Maybe traveling or something, and walk up to the cooler, and then you walk in, and I think of one convenience store in particular in our area that's just got this huge cooler with just, I don't know how many different kinds of drinks. They never have a caffeine-free drink, and it's just so disappointing to be there. That's what false teachers are. He says they promise. You walk in the door of this store, and you see that great big cooler, and you think, yeah, they'll have one. Surely in all those drinks, surely that water fountain, surely, and you go up and push the button, and how disappointing it is because they promise what they cannot deliver. And if you haven't been there, certainly the final illustration he uses, all of us have had happen. You look out on, especially in the summertime. You hear thunder in the distance. You look off, and there's dark clouds on the horizon, and maybe it's been a dry spell. And as we get a lot of times in the summer, it goes for a while with no rain, and you hear the thunder, and you see the dark clouds off in the distance, and you think, well, finally, the garden's going to get a little rain, the yard's going to get a little rain, we're going to get cooled off, a little moisture, settle this dust, settle the pollen, whatever. And you hear the thunder, and you watch the clouds, and you keep watching, and you keep watching, and it keeps thundering, and you may even see a flash of lightning, and clouds just blow right on by. They just keep right on going, and you never get a drop. How disappointing that is when you have that. And he says, for them, the gloom of utter darkness has been reserved. These false teachers, he says, that offer hope. Like a waterless spring and a rainless cloud. He says they're empty, they're unstable. You can't depend on them. You can't count on them. And if you think about these two illustrations he uses, both of them are waterless spring, rainless clouds. Water quenches our thirst. He says these false teachers, they don't do anything to solve our need. They don't do anything. They make all kinds of endless promises, but they don't produce. And he says for them, he says the gloom of utter darkness. That's their destination for being a false teacher, for being a waterless spring and a cloud that doesn't produce rain. And that's their doom, that's their destination, but you and I don't have to follow them. You and I don't have to go with them. We need to make sure that the teachers, the preachers, the books, the television shows, preachers, that those things we're watching are biblical. Are teaching truth, not be suckered in by the promises and the illusions of a lot of these slick, fancy snake oil salesmen, just to be blunt. They make all kinds of promises of prosperity and wealth and health and all these things. They're waterless springs and clouds without rain. Let's not be deceived by those kinds of teachers. Have a good one. We'll see you here tomorrow morning.